I often get the question, why did God create sex? And think with me, gang, because I think this is a good question, actually. Why did God create sex? And I'm a person of faith. Some of you may not be a person of faith who believe that there is a wise creator that not only created us, but created us to be in relationship. And so when I think through just a simple answer as to why God created sex, I think He created sex to give us, to reflect who He was, and to give us a metaphor, some models on how He wants us to learn to have deep and intimate relationships. It was like the Almighty was up in heaven looking down and creating this human being love experiment and thought, how will I show them that I'm love? How will I show that I'm creative? How will I show that I'm really good? And He came up with the idea of, I will make them sexual beings. And I will make them sexual beings that are sexually attracted. And I will make them male and female to interact with each other. So this is fascinating. I need you to sometimes sort out, when you're thinking through your sexuality, to really sort through who God is. Maybe you can think through, a while back I was talking to a bunch of high school kids, and we were just trying to think through adverbs and adjectives for God. And things like God is intimate, and God is very creative, and God is good, and God is mysteriously beautiful, and God is holy. I mean, we went through all kinds of definitions trying to think through who God was. And then we were trying to bring that around and say, and this should reflect who we are as sexual beings. If indeed God created our sexuality and our sexual relating to reflect who He is and to reveal the Almighty and to reveal His MO, His method of operating, His modus operandi, if sex was to be this big metaphor picture, then all these things should be. So think about, again, our sexuality and the way it's lived out should be intimate, should be loving. Gang, that's not selfish. Love is unselfish. You know, 1 Corinthians 13, I love that passage, that love isn't rude, and love is kind, and love is patient. So I think there's a part of it when we look at, if we're reflecting God through our sexuality, which I think was His design, it should be very intimate and loving and unselfish. Another word that I like is that God is creative. I mean, He created us sexual beings. And creativity, I like the idea of addition, that we add something to it when we think of creativity. Because when I come to God in prayer, when I come to God, I feel like so often I walk away with something, that He adds something to my life in a beautiful and special way. I would like to think that my sexual interaction with my wife is addition, that our making love really adds something. But in thinking of single sexuality, I would like to think that when I'm hanging out with my Christian, or just hanging out with my sisters and brothers, metaphorical sisters and brothers, when I'm hanging out with them, that I'm being creative sexually, that I'm making those guys feel more like men, and I'm making those gals really understand who they are as a woman and feel good about their femininity. So sexuality and the way we sexually relate should be creative. It should be addition. It should be adding to someone, not just selfishly taking from them. I think another word that's important when we describe God is He's good. Isn't that a neat word? Good. Good. Nice, kind, helpful, good. Our sexuality should be good when we look at it. The way we relate to other people, the way we live out our masculinity and femininity, it should be good. David said that when he was describing God, that he could just sit in the temple and gaze on His beauty forever. There's something that's beautiful about Adam and Eve, maybe especially Eve, but something that's very beautiful and alluring and attractive. Just like God is beautiful, and there's parts of Him that we'll just never understand the mysterious beauty. I don't think we'll ever really understand the mysterious beauty of our sexuality, and it should be reflected, God's mysterious beauty, through our sexuality. I also realize that God is holy, that He sets guidelines and boundaries and says there's certain things that if you're willing to be smart enough and mature enough to have these restraints, to have these guidelines, if you can be holy, you're going to be a whole lot more happy. So why did God create sex? I think He created sex to reveal who He was. I think He created our sexuality so that we could be richly intimate and enjoy friendships and enjoy in time that intimate relationship of marriage. And He designed this so that we could reflect through our sexuality all of His love and intimacy and His beauty and His creativity and His goodness, and that we could be holy too. Wow, that's amazing.